Alright everybody, welcome back to my step-by-step guide to 500 mounts in World of Warcraft. This is going to be step 1.5, and the reason why I'm doing a 0.5 step here is this only really applies to those watching this video during the War Within expansion. Looks like we're going to be in the War Within for the next year or so, all through 2025, so how can we passively collect all of the mounts in the War Within to boost our collection to get us towards the Otter mount? The style of which I prefer to farm mounts is I like to do things passively, meaning I do not make mount farming my primary way to play the game. I collect mounts as I do other things. The things I like to do in this game are raid with my guild, do Mythic Plus with my guild. I like to quest and I like to collect stuff. I find that by collecting mounts kind of as a side effect to what you're already doing will help you not burn out from the process. That being said though, it will make the process take longer. If you watched my first video, step 1 of this guide, I said there that it took me 2 years to get essentially from like around 300 mounts to 500 mounts. I think you can go faster than that. I know you can go faster than that. I know there are people out there that can probably go from 0 to 500 in a year, and I think that's awesome. But this is not really the guide for you. Or I guess you could just do this guide really quickly if you'd like. But this is more for people that they have the long-term goal of getting 500 mounts and they want to do it in a way that's not going to burn them out, that's fun, and that over time they'll just get there. Okay, so join me on that. The War Within, as of recording this is the week of Thanksgiving in 2024, and we have about 26 mounts or so in the War Within. So we're in the first patch, the Nerub-ar Palace patch. I will update these guides as we go through the patches, but right now, this is the first patch of the War Within. We have 26 mounts. Step 1, we are going to collect the Swarmite Skyhunter. Once you get skywriting, which happens pretty soon after the beginning quest line there, you can go from zone to zone and collect all of the skywriting glyphs. I will leave a link in the description to a wowhead guide that will show you all of the locations for these. I'm not going to do that in this video, but that is what we're going to start with. So the Swarmite Skyhunter for getting the achievement of collecting all of the skywriting glyphs in the War Within. Step 2, we are going to complete the quest line for the War Within, and in doing so, we're going to complete the Earthen Allied Race campaign to collect the Slate Stone Ramleth mount. We are going to just do our questing, complete the Earthen quest line to get this mount. Step 3, we're going to get to Renown 25 with all of the factions in the War Within. Each faction has a corresponding currency, and with that currency we can purchase a bunch of mounts from the quartermasters of each faction. So we are going to, over time, over the next year, try to accomplish getting to Renown 25 with all of these factions. I also recommend to hold off on purchasing any mounts until you are at 25 Renown with everybody. The reason for this is I want you to have the currency. So the currencies we're looking at are resonance crystals and Kej specifically. Those can also be used to purchase items that we might need, things like knowledge points for professions. If you're into professions, you probably want to spend there first. If you're new to the expansion, there is equipment gear that you can get that's pretty decent item level for a brand new character that you can purchase. There's all kinds of really good stuff to purchase with these currencies before we start spending a ton of them on mounts, because they are extremely expensive. For all of the resonance crystal mounts, we will need 58,500 resonance crystals. Okay, that's a lot of crystals. You will get this as you progress. Don't worry about farming them. Just stick to this guide. Don't worry about farming them too much. All right, so within step 3, step 3 is a big step. Step 3, we have a lot of things we're going to do each week to accomplish step 3. First, in the Isle of Dorn, which is right where Dornergal is, we are going to complete on 1 to 4 tunes all of the world quests in the Isle of Dorn. This will do a couple things for us. It's obviously going to get us Renown. It's going to get us resonance crystals. But it's also going to, at the same time, help us achieve a few different things. First is start accumulating sizzling cinder pollen. This is a great item that can be sold to an NPC in the meadery portion of the Isle of Dorn for the soaring meter bee mount. So we could choose to collect all 900 that we need for the mount. However, what I would recommend, and since we're already on step 3 where we're trying to get 25 renown with all of the factions in the war within, you were likely just going to accumulate some sizzling cinder pollen in the process. Now, one thing to keep in mind is sizzling cinder pollen is a gray item, meaning you can sell that accidentally very easily to a vendor, to your vendor mount or to any vendor. So when you are in the process of going through all of your world quests, make sure to take the sizzling cinder pollen, put it somewhere safe, and then get in the habit of maybe putting it in your war bank or your bank in general so you don't accidentally sell it. We're going to collect cinder pollen. At the same time as well, we are going to start collecting crackling shards. Crackling shards are for the Mount Alonira. Alonira is a rare on this part of the Isle of Dorn map on the top of that crystal mountain there. To kill her and get the mount, you're going to need 10 crackling shards. Crackling shards are a very rare drop chance from any monster on the Isle of Dorn. You can, just like with the sizzling cinder pollen, you could, if you wanted to, just farm, rares in the zone. You could farm any monsters you want and slowly accumulate crackling shards. But if you take a look at the wowhead comments for Alonira and crackling shards, people are posting, farming for hours and upon hours for these crackling shards. That's not something I'm super interested in. However, just by playing the game, I've collected 2 crackling shards on my main character without trying. So in theory, for all of 2025, I'm hoping that just by completing world quests on the Isle of Dorn, because that's where you need to be on the Isle of Dorn, by slowly always on maybe 1 to 4 characters doing all the world quests and just killing monsters and rares in the Isle of Dorn, I'm hoping that I will get, at least a good chunk of the crackling shards done. So when the expansion starts to come to a close, I don't have to farm 10. I only have to farm, let's say, 3. And that seems more reasonable to me. So start killing monsters in the Isle of Dorn. Doing world quests is an easy way to do that. We'll start collecting crackling shards and the sizzling cinder pollen. Now, something to also mention about the sizzling cinder pollen is that those only drop from monsters in this specific zone of the Isle of Dorn, right outside of the meadery. So the bees and the slimes out there are where you can find those. There are world quests there on a pretty regular basis, so you can start doing those. And again, honestly, the sizzling cinder pollen took me about an hour at the beginning of expansion with a group of 5. So that could be something if you put a video on your other screen and just get a group together and start collecting those, get those out of the way if you'd like. While doing this, before you leave Dornegal to go do all your world quests, I would like you to go to this NPC here and learn fishing. The reason why is one of the mounts in the War Within that you can obtain is the Ka Legend of the Deep mount. This is a recolor of a mount that was in the trading post not that long ago. Super cool mount. To get that mount, you need to complete the Derby Dash achievement by competing in the Derby Dash every Saturday in Hallowfall. And we'll get more on that later, but my point is, while you are doing your Isle of Dorn world quest, I recommend you grab a fishing pole, you learn fishing, and just fish every once in a while and start slowly getting your fishing skill up. The fishing skill can go up to 300, and you're going to need a good chunk, if not all 300 of that skill, to eventually complete that Derby Dash achievement. So put that in the back of your mind, grab a fishing pole. If you see a fishing pole, cast a line, try to get maybe 10 skill every time you do a loop of the world quest on one character. And you don't need to do it on a bunch of characters unless you want to. So just pick one character, your main character, start to learn fishing. That will pay off down the road. Okay, and that's all. We'll stop there. So still on step 3, we're going to head down to the Ringing Deeps. We're going to run the Awakening the Machine event on 1 to 4 characters, or as many as you'd like. I typically am just focused on kind of my warband. So I was running them on every warband character every week. You can find the Awakening Machine event down here. There's a couple reasons we want to do this. First is it gives us renown, which we need. It also gives us the opportunity to get the Machine Defense Unit 111. Now, this drops from the Awakening caches that you get after the event. So as we're running our 4 characters through the Awakening the Machine, we're getting reputation. And remember, reputation is now war band bound. So, you know, reputation you could get on one character is for all characters, which is amazing. And then we can try to get that mount. Once you've gotten the mount, unless you want to keep doing the Awakening of the Machine, you don't have to do that anymore. If you're not quite at level 25 Renown yet, maybe you want to keep doing it. I personally find the Awakening the Machine event a little tedious. And so once I got my defense unit, I stopped running that. So we're going to do that. Similarly, we're going to then head down to Halifal and we're going to complete the Spreading of the Elite event. Similar to the Awakening the Machine event, this has a couple of reasons. We're getting Renown, and then we're also getting what are called the Lamplighter's Supply caches. Now, in those caches, we have a chance to get the Imperial Lynx mount. Okay, really cool mount. I actually got this mount while filming for this video, and I'm really psyched. The lynx, cats are like my favorite, and I love these lynx mounts. They're adorable. Super excited to get that. So go down there. We're going to start accumulating more renown. We're going to get chances at lynx mounts. You can also get, you know, the feast recipe from the weekly quest there. It's just a lot of good reasons to go down and get that mount, or to do that event to build up some resonance crystals, get some renown, and then obviously try to get this lynx. The next currency we're going to talk about is Kej. Okay, just like the crystals, we can also transfer these, and right now I have 4.6k. We're looking at a whopping 12,815 Kej to buy all of the mounts. How we're going to get Kej is by doing events down in Ashkahet. Okay, so we can get Kej through doing the world quest, so 50 Kej right there, and then there is a weekly quest in Ashkahet that I recommend doing to get more Kej. Again, I didn't really think about farming Kej at any point in this expansion. I was just playing the game, and over time I collected over 12k, and then you can purchase the mounts from there. And then finally, inside of step 3, we're going to complete 4 bountiful delves per week. Now this is, you could scale this as high as you'd like, but I'm just going to leave it on at least 1 character. Try to get 4 bountiful delves done. Remember, bountiful delves reset every day. They're on the map as the glowing delve icon, and you use your coffer keys for that. Just like everything else in this step, you're kind of killing multiple birds with one stone here, where the bountiful delves are great for alts. You know, it's giving them gear. You can get a lot of gold. I actually ran a delve on an alt character and ended up with 3 tinder boxes. It ended up selling for a total of 6k gold just by running a delve for 10 minutes, and I earned 6k gold. That doesn't happen all the time, but you can get lucky there. So that's a cool way to, you know, we're getting gold, we're leveling, we can level characters through there, we can gear our alt characters or our main character through there, but we're also trying to slowly complete the Glory of the Delver achievement. So the Glory of the Delver achievement is going to give us this Ivory Goliathus. So as you're doing your bountiful delves, I highly recommend pull up the Glory of the Delver achievement and make sure that as you're doing your bountiful delves, you're not just doing the same ones over and over again. You're spreading yourself around to all of the delves to complete the quest lines. We need to make sure that when we're doing our delves, because we're not doing so many of them, we're only doing 4, let's take our time and find all of the treasures, try to do all of the quests in there, and then slowly work our way to getting this Glory of the Delver achievement. By doing the Delve quest line, we're going to get the Delver's Dirigible as well. So we're getting two mounts here. And there's also a Delver's Dirigible appearance that you can get through an achievement with interacting with the boss Zekthir. That doesn't necessarily count towards our achievement, so I'm not too concerned about that. But again, while we're doing delves, you can work your way towards getting the really cool voidy looking dirigible there. All right, so that completes our step number 3. So steps 1 through 3, I think, are the most important things. I really wouldn't necessarily start working your way past those without finishing step 1, 2, and 3 first. That's going to give us the biggest chunk of mounts. But at the same time, we can move on to step 4, which is kill Queen Anserect on any difficulty at least once per week. The reason we want to start doing this now, and it is a little late, to be fair, I didn't start making videos until, you know, late in this patch. So I would, if you really want these 2 mounts, you would probably want to do this on more than 1 character. But essentially, there's 2 mounts that drop from Queen Anserect. The first one is the Reins of the Sureki Skyraiser. This is a 0.75 drop chance mount from any difficulty. So you could farm this theoretically on one character 4 different times. You can do LFR, you could do normal, heroic, and then if you are in a guild that can do Mythic Ansarek, which is rare, but that's really cool if you can do that. And if you can do Mythic Ansarek, you also have a chance at the Reins of the Ascendant Skyraiser, which drops exclusively from Queen Ansarek Mythic. These 2 mounts I wouldn't necessarily consider core needs for this achievement guide. For the 500 mount achievement guide. The reason why is that they're very low drop chance, and they're also at this point very difficult to do. You need either a guild, you need to get an LFR, which is a nightmare. You need to, be able to run this. I know a lot of guilds at this point in the season are slowly starting to take breaks. I know personally my guild is really struggling to keep our roster going, so don't really worry too much about this. However, if you are really hell-bent on getting every mount in the War Within, you probably want to get on this right now. Continuing to farm Queen Ansarek next season will be more and more annoying to get enough people to participate, and then at that point you might need to wait until next expansion to have the scaling work out where you can run it, maybe solo or with a really small group. So keep that in mind. Step number 5. As we're going through our expansion, we're kind of going through step 3. We should also be killing 2 rare mobs. We have the Lurker of the Deeps rare in the Ringing Deeps. This mob has a 5%-ish chance to drop Olmo Rufus. You can find the Lurker of the Deeps here. At this point in the expansion, shouldn't be too big of a deal to solo, but if you need help, you could always post a group in the group finder. Another rare spawn that we're going to want to farm during step 5 is down in Halifal, which is called Belladar Spawn. This mount is going to be another mount from a rare spawn, but this one's a little bit more tricky. So every few hours down in Halifal, the Belladar, that big giant crystal coming out of the ceiling, will turn purple. And it kind of makes the whole zone this kind of purplish, voidy hue and changes things. But when that happens, the actual mob, or the rare spawn that drops this, is going to spawn in one of the locations that I'll put on the screen here. And I'll also link, in the description, an actual wowhead post so you can see. But what I want to show you is on the face of it, without doing anything else, you could basically track when the crystal is going to turn purple, be in Halifal, maybe maybe sitting at one of the possible locations, and then once it spawns, you can hope that someone will link in chat, and you can put out there as well into like kind of the general chat of if anyone sees it, and just kind of hope that by the time you get there, if you're not right next to it, it's still alive. But what I would do to save yourself time is we're going to head over to the quartermaster for the Halifal kind of rep here. And she sells an item if you are high enough reputation that essentially allows you to see where Belladar's mob, the rare spawn, will actually spawn. And so you don't have to worry about missing it. You don't have to worry about hoping someone will put the coordinates in chat. Okay, essentially what this has done now is your account and or at least your warband now has a permanent buff, if you will, even though it might not show up here, that you are now attuned to Belladar spawn. And so when Belladar Shadow does spawn every 3 hours or so, you will actually get a little icon on your map showing you where it's at. So that's pretty cool. So honestly, I would wait until you can get that item before you start farming this, because it's just kind of a pain in the butt and also super disheartening to be waiting a long time. It spawns and then you're over here and it spawns over here. And by the time you get there with people's item level, it's probably dead. And that's super frustrating. So the other rare we're going to want to get after is, and bear with me here, Takath. It's the Skyraiser looking guy down in Ashkahet. This is not quite as simple as the Lurker of the Deeps. He doesn't drop the mount itself, which is Siesbarg. Again, apologies if I butchered that name. What he's going to drop is a Vial of Blood. Now, the Vial of Blood will start you on a quest chain, and that quest chain will require you to grind some of these materials that we need to collect from various monsters around the War Within. So in step 5, we're just going to worry about getting the Vial of Blood, and then we're just going to stop there. Do not worry about the quest until later steps. We're just going to worry about getting the bloods and getting the Olmo Rufus mount from the Lurker of the Deeps. We're then going to go to step 6. And as we're going through the expansion, we're going to need to start running through the Stone Vault dungeon. Now, you can run this on any difficulty you like. As of the recording of this video, it is Season 1, and Stone Vault is in the Mythic Plus rotation. So if you are like me and already running weekly keys on multiple characters, maybe you start prioritizing Stone Vault. While you are running Stone Vault, there's a couple things to focus on. We need to make sure that we are running the Stone Vault at least on one character a week that can loot the Girarang trinket. Not every spec can loot this trinket. So keep in mind that, for example, if you are a Holy Paladin and you're running Stone Vault, you will have a chance at the malfunctioning mech suit, which is the item that starts the quest, but you are not going to get the Girarang on your loot table. It is not an int trinket, it is a strength trinket in the case of Paladin. So in order for me to get this, I had to make sure I right-clicked my character frame and switched my loot specialization to Retribution. So you don't need to be in Retribution spec to get this mount. You just need to have the loot spec changed to a character that can actually collect it. And this is also important for the other parts of the quest chain, the other 2 trinkets, which are coming from Dark Flame Cleft and from the Meadery dungeon. Those are int trinkets. So in the case of my character, I would stay in Holy Spec. What I recommend here, again, this is like a lot of the things on this guide. This, if you really want this mount, you can definitely do this all at once. But this is what I recommend. Stone Vault is in the rotation right now. So for the remainder of this season, try at least once a week on one character to run Stone Vault on Mythic Plus difficulty. You could also run Stone Vault on Follower Dungeon difficulty to level some characters, whatever you'd like. We're trying to get 2 things from that dungeon. The malfunctioning mech suit, which starts the quest, and we're trying to get the Girarang trinket. Now, you don't need the quest to get the trinket first, so you can still get the trinket. So keep farming until you have the mech suit. From there, I personally would recommend you wait, hold off on the other 2 dungeons. The reasons why is that in Season 2, which is coming up in a few months, the dungeons and the trinkets from those dungeons will be in the Mythic Plus pool. So naturally, over the course of the season, 3 to 4 months, you will likely be running those dungeons multiple times on multiple characters. So I personally, because I like Mythic Plus and I do them a lot, I'm not going to bother going and doing follower dungeons right now for those trinkets. I don't necessarily need this mount instantly. I'm just going to be patient. I'm going to wait. I'm going to make sure I run those dungeons, make sure my loot spec is in a way that I can get those trinkets, and then over time, I will eventually get this mount. Next, we have step number 7. We're going to farm the quest items for the Siesbarg Questline that we got from step 5. So at this point, because of step 5, we have the Vial of Blood from the rare monster down in Ashkahet. We now need a bunch of different items. How I recommend doing this is by farming Nerubians in the Isle of Dorn. Just like with a lot of the steps here, it's because what we want to do is we want to be farming Cinder Pollen as well, and we're going to be in that area already to maybe collect, if we're doing like a loop waiting for monsters to spawn. We could be collecting Cinder Pollen if you haven't gotten that already. If you already have that, what you might not have is enough Crackling Shards, and those Nerubians can drop, because they're in the Isle of Dorn, they can drop Crackling Shards. I don't necessarily know, and I haven't done this yet. So keep that in mind. Please reference the wowhead comments and the wowhead guide. They're going to have a better information than I will, because I have not begun this grind yet. But what I am seeing, though, is if we are going to have to get Crackling Shards anyway, I would rather have it take a little bit longer to get all of the items I need for the Siesbarg mount by farming Nerubians in the Isle of Dorn, because it's killing 2 birds with 1 stone by allowing me to also farm Crackling Shards in the process. So I think that's a win-win, and that's what I plan to do after I'm done editing this video. I plan this week and next to start working my way to getting this mount. So I'll kind of report back onto you if that ended up being a good idea or not. So again, please reference wowhead comments and the wowhead guide that I'll have in the description. The step 9, while we're doing this, I recommend if you're watching this right now at the end of 2024 or early 2025, while the 20th anniversary event is running, this is a great time to start working your way towards collecting the Infinite Time Reaver. This is something that another kind of one of those mounts. Honestly, it might be one of the rarer mounts now with the world boss mount changes and mop. A lot of the changes they've made to these like hyper rare mounts, this actually might be up there as one of the rarest mounts to get. Now, this is very much a luck thing. I have someone in my guild that literally got it the first, like I think he said it was like his second ever time walking dungeon. He got it. So you could be farming this for years or 2 days. But what I recommend is, because we have time walking, classic time walking every week, we can be collecting the tokens that we need for all of the, you know, there's mounts, there's tier 2 sets. You can be collecting tokens while simultaneously getting in reps to try to get the Infinite Time Reaver. So really easy way to level alts. I leveled my monk through time walking. It was so fast. So highly recommend you do that. All right. And finally, step 10, after we've done all that, eventually what we'd like to accomplish at some point. Now, this isn't required right now in this season. This actually gets easier and easier to do as the expansion goes on. I know my guild likes to wait until like an end of expansion, and then we go through all of the raids at that point. But it is the Shadowed Swarmite, or the Reigns of the Shadowed Swarmite, which drops once you've completed the Glory of the Nerub-ar, oh my god, the Glory of the Nerub-ar Raider achievement. So you're gonna need to get a group together for that, complete that achievement, and you'll get the Reigns of the Shadowed Swarmite. Again, not necessarily super relevant right this moment, hence why it's, you know, kind of down here in step 10. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about it right now, but if you happen to see a group forming up for this in the group finder, maybe if you have nothing else to do, hop in there, or if your guild is interested, maybe you organize one in your guild. You only need, I think, 10 people just to get in there on normal difficulty to do this achievement. So it's something you can work your way through at some point in the next year. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm really excited to get this going. I hope you're enjoying your mount farming. Mount farming is a very relaxing way to enjoy the game. I really do enjoy it. If you have any questions, please comment on this video. I've been trying my best to get to every single comment and try to answer your questions. So if you have questions, concerns, if you feel stuck on something, please let me know. And with that, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy your mount farming, and I'll see you next time.